Okay, you guys want a hard truth. Here it is. You can be the most valuable, most generous, most beautiful person in the world, but if you don't recognize it, it's not gonna be worth a damn. And in this episode of Coach Aidan, I'll explain to you how I came to learn this the hard way. It's been a very difficult couple of weeks for me, actually. A good friend of mine, Vincent, killed himself. He committed suicide. He was very special to me because the way we were brought together, I felt was something out of this world. Oh, this was back in June, right? And the Black Lives Matter protests were happening here in Los Angeles, and I live right in downtown. I look outside my window, buildings are burning, cars are on fire, people are getting shot, and I'm like, I am out of here for a minute. But I had to decide where I wanted to go first. And I remembered in 4th grade, I did a report on Montana. I had just moved to the United States and we had to do a report on states and I had to just pick one. So I picked Montana. I'm pretty sure as a 9-year-old who didn't speak any English, I didn't even know what states meant. I just pointed to something on a map and it happened to be Montana. My report, I'm pretty sure, was just like trees, fishing, and 3rd biggest state. And I've come to learn since then that Montana is actually the 4th biggest state, not the 3rd biggest state. So I was an Asian kid who couldn't speak English and couldn't count. Go figure. That's why I'm wearing this shirt today, Gone Fishing, in tribute to my time in Montana. But anyway, I decide I'm gonna leave and I go to Montana. I end up in Missoula, Montana, where I learn to ride a bike. I rent a bike from this bike shop and I try to learn, crashing into children and poles and fences, and like even the chain became undone and I had to like put it back on. It was pretty sad. But I learned, now I know how to ride a bike, woohoo. My apologies to the citizens of Missoula, Montana. Then I had to pick the next place on the map, and so I picked Kalispell, Montana, thinking I was gonna get to go see Glacier National Park, but Glacier doesn't open till like August, and I didn't know that, so I just booked this hotel in the middle of nowhere, not being able to go see Glacier National Park. I would get to go see it later. So I get there, and it's raining, and I'm at this hotel, Red Lion Hotel, and what do I see right across the street from the Red Lion Hotel? A Black Lives Matter protest, except it looks very different than the one down here, right? The one down here is mostly people who are for Black Lives Matter. The one up there was interesting because there was like 60 people holding signs, 60% of the people holding signs that say Black Lives Matter, and the other 40 were carrying like rifles, loaded rifles, just out in the open. And I understand Montana is an open carry state, but I've never seen anything like it. So many people with just guns. And it was like mostly all white people. And so I went over there and I was like the only ethnic person there. And I was talking to people, and one of the people holding the rifles was like, yeah, we're here to protect our city from outsiders who I heard were coming to destroy our businesses. Where did you say you were from again? I was like, ooh, gotta go. It wasn't great for me because, blending in is not really my strength. But I'm, sitting in my hotel room without anything to do. So I was like, I'm going to this protest. So I went to the protest and I made a sign and I stood there for like 2-3 hours and I ran into these 3 people who were the nicest. They were like Christian Bible teachers. They're like the coolest people. We had like deep conversation. Like I talked to them for 2 to 3 hours, It even came out that I used to be a prostitute on Craigslist. I told them. I figured, I'll just tell them what's going on because, if they were real Christians, they wouldn't mind hanging out with me because Jesus wasn't too cool for prostitutes. He hung out with them. Turns out these people are real Christians. They're great. I still keep in touch with them. They're wonderful, wonderful people. And you know how I knew that they were real Christians? Real Christians was, so after we separated, they went to the market and they noticed that there was a person behind them buying only one item. So they paid for his item and they were leaving. And That person that they paid for was my friend Vince. So my friend Vince, that I don't know yet, runs up to these guys and goes, hey, you paid for my groceries. Wow, thank you so much. What can I do for you? And they said nothing, just enjoy. And my friend Vince goes, actually, I run a comedy show here in Kalispell, Montana. And how about I give you some free tickets to my next show? And then they were like, funny, we just spoke for like 2-3 hours to a comedian from LA here. And yeah, you guys should get in touch. And that's how we meet. Kalispell is a small town, but it's still got like 60,000 people. That's a lot of people. So the happenstance with which we met is kind of crazy. So he hits me up on Instagram saying, hey, I'd like to speak to you. I'm a comedian here and I'd like to meet you. And I said, okay. I was like, well, hell, I survived 300 shotguns out in the open yesterday. So what's the worst he could do if he's crazy? So I take a chance and I'm like, all right, I'll meet you, sure. Turns out this guy, Vincent, he's 24. And he started the Kalispell comedy scene, putting together comedy shows because he had always wanted to be a comedian. But there was no comedy scene in Kalispell. So he decided to start his own comedy scene by putting together shows, modeling after what he saw in Los Angeles and San Francisco and other areas, and putting together showcases. But there were no comedians. So he convinced a bunch of his friends to be comedians along with him so that he could start the scene. That's so crazy. I'm like, who is this kid? He's interesting. And so I meet him, right? And it's like Sunday morning, nothing's open. And he pulls up and he goes, hi, I'm Vince. I'm sorry I can't hang out with you today. I'm on my way to play Dungeons and Dragons. I made fun of him about that all the time. Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what's there to do in Kalispell? He was like, that Asian restaurant I think is open. And I was like, oh great, I can get a job there while I'm at it. And instant friends, right? So I meet him that night and he takes me to the local open mic where there's musicians and singers and comedians, and he introduces me to a bunch of his friends. And they are so warm and so nice, and they are just absolutely welcoming me into their fold. It's clear to me that Vince is very respected in the community based on the reactions that I'm seeing from the other people toward Vince, right? Also, the funny thing was, he tells me about his comedy aspirations, and his dream was to perform at the Laugh Factory. And funnily enough, Laugh Factory is my home club where they gave me my first shot. Right? The first big club that really stood by me and said, we like Aidan. And I ran the LGBT show there for 4 years. And so Vincent, although he's very, very not gay, he's very straight, with a hat and everything. I was like, I think I can help you get on that stage maybe. And he was so excited, and we were really connecting. And from that point, we talked like at least once a week. Then he decided, he was like, I'm gonna pay you to come and play our town as a headliner. And he did. He did. He got sponsors to pay for the trip. He even allowed me to bring my girl, Angie Crum, to help me host this. And she's a wonderful, wonderful girl. She's very funny. You should check her out. And we both come up, and he pulls together a bunch of people to open. He got the venue, the Elks Lodge in Montana. And I'm there to perform at the Elks Lodge in Montana. How crazy. During this trip, I get to go to Glacier National Park, finally, and I get to go with Vince. And on the ride up, we talk about everything, and I get to know him even better. And it was such a wonderful thing to share with him. The Glacier National Park was very beautiful, and he shared with me his hopes and dreams, and he was just a really wonderful guy. During this trip, I meet all kinds of people. I meet Kara, his sharp, witty, smart girlfriend who is so loving. I meet Sydney, the girl upstairs who's all smiles all day, right? I meet Nick, who is legendary for having the biggest dick in Kalispell, and it's been confirmed by multiple sources. His friend Colby is a graphic t-shirt designer and artist, and I got to go to his house and check out his art. I meet Shay, this crazy hippie dude with a crazy sense of comedy. Like, it's something I've never seen before. Very interesting. I meet Millie, this 85-year-old mother hen of the community who is very much like, well, she says things like it is. And I meet Chad, who runs the Elks Lodge, who seems like a very paternal fatherly figure in that community. And Melody, who I'm still friends with, we're like super cool, and she's just a really fun girl that I like to hit up, right? They were all at the show, and I meet all of them, and they all really love Vincent. The thing is, all of us would never have been in the same room together had it not been for Vincent, right? Vincent was the catalyst that brought all of these people together in one room, and me to Montana, that allowed me to see the Glacier National Park and meet all of these new people that I call my friends now, right? So when I found out that he had taken his own life, it was very surprising. And even though I knew he struggled with anxiety and depression, I knew that, but it was very surprising to me because those that loved him told me that the primary reason that he took his own life was the narrative that he had, that where he thought that he would be unburdening everybody around him by taking himself out, which is really even more tragic to me because it's the discrepancy between what we see and what he sees when he looks at himself was so vastly different. I saw somebody who was kind, who was thoughtful, who wanted to do best for the community, who was entrepreneurial, and who was really forward-thinking, who was loving and caring. And he didn't. He did not. He could not see it. So that got me thinking, it's not about how valuable you are to the community. Because empirically speaking, just objectively, Vincent was a major add to that community, bringing people together, creating laughter, creating feelings of love, and even just for me, allowing me to have the Kalispell experience by being so kind as to let me in, right? But it got me to think, it's like you can be the most valuable player in the world, right? And you could be scoring the most points, right? But if you don't see yourself as that, you could quit the game to the detriment of the entire team. And it's so sad. And it got me to think, sometimes I think the same way. I know that I'm the art of being yay guy. However, I have moments where I feel like, what am I good for? What am I really providing the world? Who cares about what I do? Who cares about anything that I've done? Do people really like me? All of that. And I have to kind of think. But if I learned anything from Vincent's passing, and I'm not going to let this lesson go easily because I don't want his passing to mean nothing. What I learned is I have to actively look for ways in which I am valuable so that I can keep myself strong. Because I am only as valuable to others as I am able to recognize in myself. If I can't recognize it, I might miss the entire thing. We need to practice seeing ourselves as valuable and counting all of the ways in which we are valuable in this society. Have you said something nice to somebody, maybe at Starbucks? Maybe it brightened their day. Maybe you called a friend and helped them. Maybe you are somebody who is so smart that people count on for information, or all these ways that we are valuable that we completely discredit in favor of negativity thinking and negativity bias. I think it's a real unfortunate situation and kind of the thing that maybe did Vincent. So we have to take note, take stock of every little thing that we do that adds value and see the value in ourselves. I just would like to close this by saying, I love you, Vince. Thank you for being in my life, wherever you are. You've touched me deeply. And I hope that wherever you are, you're out of pain and that you can recognize the awesomeness that you were to all of us from your current perspective. So thank you. And everybody have a good week.